Have you ever been in a relationship where love slowly started to feel like control? At first, it might look like care, love, protection, and support, but over time you notice the weight of it. Like you are losing your voice, your freedom, and even the feeling of who you really are. This is a pattern I have witnessed so many times in my own life and also in the lives of people I have been working with. After 15 years as an aura photographer, meeting over 10,000 people, I can tell you, self-doubt and control leave the mark. But the moment somebody begins to trust themselves again, something shifts completely. That's what I want to explore today. How love can quietly turn into control. The 7 red flags you need to watch for. Control in relationships rarely starts loudly. More often it creeps in quietly through small restrictions that build over time. So here are 7 red flags to look for. Let's start with the first way how control often shows up in controlling relationships. Does this sound familiar? You suggest going out for a sushi. You are excited about the new place in the neighborhood and you have been craving for it. But instead they decide you need more protein and say you should both have burgers. After a while, you stop suggesting anything because you feel like your voice doesn't matter. So the first red flag is they always insist on their way. On the surface, it might look like leadership and strength. Don't worry, I will decide for both of us. But when one person decides always, your preferences and voice slowly disappear. When your preferences are constantly dismissed, your nervous system learns to expect rejection and you stop speaking up. Not because you don't have desires, because you have learned that they won't be honored. And this creates a cycle of silence and self-abandonment. You say, I'd like to visit my family this Sunday. They respond, no, it's a waste of time. We will do something else. At first it feels like a compromise, but months or years later, you notice that your weekends doesn't match your desires. Here is what we need to remember. Real love creates space for 2 voices, 2 perspectives. Control only allows 1. Let's move on to the next red flag. A friend invites you out and your partner says, why waste time with them? They don't understand us. They are different. Soon you see your friends less and your world begins to revolve only around your relationships. Another example, you mention visiting your family and they respond, your family doesn't really get you, they just bring negative energy. And over time you stop reaching out and the safety net of people you trusted begins to disappear. So the red flag number 2 is they create an us versus them mentality. At first it might feel flattering. It's you and me against the world. It may even feel like deep loyalty. But over time this pattern becomes dangerous because it slowly cuts you off from the people you once trusted and that are important to you. And this isolation creates dependency because the deeper truth is love thrives in connection. Healthy relationships allows both partners to connect with their friends and family and community, but control isolates. And the more isolated you are, the easier it is for the control to grow because the only voice left in your life is theirs. Let's look at another red flag. So here's an example. They plan your entire week without asking. On Monday we will do this, on Tuesday we will visit my friends, on Friday we will go to theater. You notice there's so little room left to what are your needs and wishes. your hobbies, your rest, or simply time with people you love. Another example is that you buy something small for yourself and they say, that's not a smart choice. I will take care of the money from now on. What sounds like a responsibility at first slowly turns into a financial control. So the third red flag is they manage your time, energy, or money. At the beginning, it might sound supportive. I will help you to stay on track. I will handle the finances so you don't have to stress about that. But over time, this help can start to feel like a restriction. And the effect is subtle but very powerful. Your life no longer feels like your own. The hours of your day, your energy levels, even your ability to spend money, they are no longer guided by your choices, but by theirs. But we have to remember that in a healthy relationship, support never replaces freedom. And here's another red flag. They say, don't worry about driving. I will always take you where you need to go. At first, it feels sweet and kind of protective. But after months, you realize you have stopped driving at all. And now you depend on them to go anywhere. And here is one more example. You put on an outfit and they say, don't wear that. I just want you to look your best. It sounds caring, but you realize that your wardrobe has shifted to what they prefer, not what makes you alive and happy. So the fourth red flag is when care turns into control. This is one of the most confusing red flags because it often looks like love at the beginning. A controlling partner may say things like, I just want to protect you. I know what's best for you. On the surface, it feels thoughtful. You might even feel relieved. They are looking out for me. But slowly that care becomes a cage. So for now we have looked at what controlling partners do. But the harder part is how it makes you feel inside. Now let's look at the emotional impact controlling relationships has on you inside. So here's an example. You tell a story to a group of friends and they interrupt to fix the details in front of everyone. You feel embarrassed and the next time you think twice before speaking at all. Or you decide to try something new. Maybe you want to sign up for a painting class, start journaling, or work on a small project that excites you. And instead of encouragement, they dismiss it with words like, why would you waste your time on that? It is not useful. At first, you kind of brush it off, but their voice lingers in your mind. And the next time you feel inspired, you hesitate. You catch yourself thinking, maybe they are right, maybe this is silly. And over time, you begin to doubt not only this idea, but your ability to choose anything for yourself. What looks like care is actually a control. Instead of feeling trusted, you feel monitored, like you are under constant watch. And little by little, you stop trusting your own choices because you are too busy to manage their reactions. Instead of trusting your own inner compass, you begin second-guessing every decision. Their constant corrections and disapproval make you feel like you can't do anything right. But true love builds trust, not doubt. A healthy relationship doesn't make you question your worth. It encourages you to believe in yourself more deeply. Let's move on to the next red flag under this emotional impact. You want to buy new clothes, but instead of what feels good to you, you hold them up and ask, do you think this looks good? Should I even get it? A simple decision becomes impossible without the input of the other person. It might sound different in each situation, but the effect is the same. So I will give you one more example. You are invited to an event. you feel excited to go, but instead of listening to yourself, you ask, do you think I should go? Will it be okay if I do? So the red flag, number 6, you stop believing you can decide without them. This is when dependency sets in. You feel paralyzed making even small choices without their input. In psychology, it's sometimes called learned helplessness. One of the most painful effects of control is when you stop trusting yourself to make decisions. What begins as a small doubt eventually grows into full dependency. At first, it may look like leaning on your partner for support. What do you think I should wear? Can you help me to decide? But over time, you realize that you are asking for their approval for all the choices, from what to eat, to how to spend money, to whether your feelings are valid. The impact is quiet but devastating. Each time you hand over a decision, you hand away a little more of the self-trust. And soon you start to believe in the lie that you can't decide on your own. But healthy love doesn't make you doubt your ability to choose. It gives you the freedom to decide for yourself, knowing that you will be supported, not corrected. And finally, let's talk about the 7th red flag, what it does to your identity and to your connection with God or universe. Let's begin with an example. Once you loved traveling, painting or dancing, things that made you feel alive, but they didn't value those passions. So you quietly set them aside. Months later, you realize you haven't touched a paintbrush, danced or taken a trip. This part of you has gone silent. So the red flag number 7 is you feel your identity slipping away. This is often the hardest red flag to face because it doesn't happen all at once. It's not like that you wake up one day and forget who you are. It happens slowly, little by little, as you give up more of yourself to keep the peace. At the beginning, they might be small sacrifices. Setting aside a hobby you like, staying less around friends, or going along with choices you normally wouldn't do. But over time, these small sacrifices are coming together until you no longer recognize the person in the mirror. And the impact is profound. You just don't lose your freedom of choice, you lose your sense of self. You begin to wonder, who am I? What do I even like anymore? But love celebrates individuality. It allows both people to shine fully as themselves. Control, on the other hand, shrinks you until your identity is almost unrecognizable. And that's when the relationship becomes more harmful. And I will give you one more, 8th red flag. You feel disconnected from your intuition, from God, from your life's flow. Perhaps the most painful effect of the control isn't just losing your voice on your choices. It is feeling cut off from God or intuition or universe and the natural flow of life. When you live under constant doubt, guilt, or fear, you begin to silence your intuition. Those gentle little nudges, the quiet knowing that says, this isn't right, get pushed aside because you are too afraid to conflict, rejection, or disappointing the other person. For example, you really feel that this decision isn't right for you. Your body kind of tightens, your heart says no, but instead of trusting that signal, you override it because you don't want to cause attention. Each time you do this, you drift farther from your inner knowing, your intuition. One more example would be Once you felt deep connection with God through prayers or connection to universe through meditation or just deep connection with nature on your nature walks. But now this guilt and fear weigh so heavily on you that those moments of connection feels really distant, like far away from you. Instead of feeling in alignment with this universal love or life's flow, you feel lost in confusion. The impact is spiritual as much as emotional. You no longer feel supported by life itself. Without trust in your inner wisdom, you lose your sense of safety, direction, and divine connection. But when you trust yourself, you also connect with God, with universe. So these were 8 flags that you are in a controlling relationship. If you recognize yourself in any of those red flags, please know that you are not alone. Many kind-hearted women find themselves here, not because they are weak, but because they care so deeply. And the good news is that it is possible to rebuild your self-trust. These red flags shows us something really important. We lose our voice, our choice, our freedom, and even our connection with God and our own intuition, but we don't need to stay there. When you start building self-trust again, you reconnect with your inner compass. You stop giving away your power and you begin to live in alignment with your purpose, with who you really are. That's why I created Unshakable Self-Trust, a 6-week journey designed to help kind-hearted women move from self-doubt after controlling relationships into faith, strength, and freedom. Together, we will rebuild this inner trust that allows you to create a healthy relationships, follow your intuition with confidence, and fully feel the connection with God and your flow of life. You are stronger than you realize, even if control has made you doubt it. To step back into your voice, into your clarity, into your connection and your freedom, book a clarity call with me. I would love to walk this journey alongside with you. A link is in a description box. Looking forward to chat with you and support you in your journey.